Now, you got a little report about me. How long did you know that I was coming here? How long has it? When did you find out that I was coming here? A week or so ago? Yeah. And so, what do you know about me so far? That I'm
a writer and director.
Writer and director. I'll tell you a little bit about myself so that that can be helpful to you. I grew up in the middle of the United States in a state called Oklahoma, where there's not much except lots of wind. And I went to college and decided to become a lawyer, and was a lawyer. I was working as what in the United States we call a poverty lawyer. So I helped people who were poor. Primarily, I worked in an area involving domestic abuse, so that I represented women who were being physically abused by men, helping them with their legal problems, and was well on my way to being an adult and doing all the things you're supposed to do when you grow up. And I wandered into a theater one night, and auditioned for a play, and I started acting. And I realized that that's what I love to do instead of practicing law. And so I gave up my law career. I went back to school and studied acting in Chicago, and then I went over to England and studied in England at the National Theatre in London with Anthony Hopkins and other people like that. And then went to Hollywood, Los Angeles, to try to make a living as an actor. One of the things that I realized when I got there was that I was going to have to do other things besides just acting in order to make a living, because it was very difficult to get enough acting jobs to pay the bills from month to month. So that's when I started teaching acting. I started directing, I started writing, I started producing, and then eventually I started doing law work again. So now I'm practicing law again, but I'm also working in the advertising business. In the United States, a lawyer can advertise. So we produce TV commercials for lawyers and other types of marketing materials to help them find clients. And also I'm still involved with acting and with Hollywood. So it's been a long process for me to find the things along the way that have made a difference to my career. But the thing that was most important to me was it was something in my heart that I wanted to do, and that caused me to change my life in a way that I didn't expect when I first started out. Do some of you have, let me just ask, because you said that your father suggested that you become an actor. Is that usual? Do most of you have parents who want you to do this work? Yes?
Exactly right.
Yes?
It was my father who pursued me for this career.
Really? Because, no?
My parents were not agreed.
Yeah, my parents weren't very excited at all. They didn't like...
Actually, they were not aware about this field, na?
Yeah.
So they were not ready. But
They were not ready? Are you working on them? You're getting them trained now to understand? Anyone else that you have family support for what you're doing? That's good, because it's a very, very difficult career. At least for me in the United States it has been, and you can tell me, what is your sense of the career challenges here in India for what you're doing?
Actually, to start from the very beginning, it's really tough because I'm already working, so even my parents don't allow me to leave that career. I'm working with Microsoft, working with convergers for Microsoft as a client services. So I'm earning good, so my parents don't allow me to start a new beginning. You know, it's really tough here in India to start your career from scratch, because it takes 2 to 3 years or more than that to establish your career in a particular field. So
Most of the people that I know working in Hollywood also do other jobs. Is a book called The Writer's Journey, and I forget the author's name, but he approaches writing from mythology. He says there's certain common mythology in all cultures. You have stories that you grow up learning about different religious people or just stories you tell each other. And every culture has different stories. And the writer has to tap into that mythology and write stories that follow that. And that's one of the things I like about that book, is that it talks about how a writer does that. But imagination is critical to that. The interesting thing about the writing, are you thinking about writing for film?
Yeah, especially for film.
The challenge for a film writer or a screenwriter is not only do you have to, it's many challenges. First of all, you have to write a script that will make a good movie. But you also have to write a good script that people will like to read. So that you could have a script that would make a great movie, but it just doesn't read well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's very strange, because first you have to sell the script before the movie gets made. So sometimes you're writing a script, you're not thinking about the film, you're thinking about the person that's going to be reading the script and how they will enjoy it. So sometimes you're writing things that you really don't need for the script, but you need it to sell the film. And in Hollywood, you then go and pitch your script or your idea. And so you have to not only be able to write well, but you have to, back to what you're talking about, presenting well. I sold a story idea to Universal Studios without having written a single thing. I just would go to meetings and I would tell them this story. And I told them a story about these elves at Christmas time and how they lived in the North Pole, and somehow the story I told was good enough that one of the studios decided to buy the story idea. And then we started writing it. The problem is what we wrote was not very good. So the story was good, and it allowed us to sell the story, but the script was much more difficult to write. But we wouldn't have been able to write the script had we not sold the story. And so that'll be one of the challenges as a writer, is that you have to not only be able to write well, but also be able to sell the story as when you go in to pitch it to other people. Your role model, that's what you want to become. In 20 years, you can become as good as he is. Okay? In the meantime, you work towards that. Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. But if voice is something that you've been able to decide is something you need to work on, then you work on it. It's simple. It's not a difficult thing. Does that help at all, or does that answer your?
Yes.
Yeah? No? Okay.